Bonjour everyone and welcome to this class. Today is a little bit special as we're going to go through what I would call an intro to my classes. We're going to start off with a few minutes of meditation, trying to look at the basic facts of meditating and how to do so. The second part is going to be more asana oriented, which means poses oriented. We're going to look at child's pose, downward dog, upward facing dog, and the whole sun salutation A, including obviously Chaturanga, Dandasana, that transition from high plank to low plank to upward facing dog or a cobra. So we're going to look at all that. Let's start by working on our meditation. So to start with, find a comfortable seat. What you want, or what I like, is having a block under my glutes. This way I can really relax the legs. So what's important, whether you have a block or not, is that you're finding a comfortable seat that you can hold for a few minutes. Maybe if you do practice often, you're going to need to be comfortable in that seat for 20, 30, 45 minutes. Today is just going to be a couple of minutes. So let's just find that comfortable seat, maybe cross-legged, having that block, both sit bones on the mat or on that block, and then relax the legs. Make sure you're not holding on to anything around these legs, the hips or the quads, for example, hip flexors. And then let the belly hang out. We really don't want to hold on to anything physically or mentally, but that's the second step. So really let the belly hang out, let the shoulders relax, maybe give yourself one last shoulder shrug, and then let them melt down your back. Have the palms of your hands facing up, maybe resting on your knees, but again, if you like, in between your legs, that's perfectly fine. And then we're going to slowly close our eyes and focus on our breath for a few minutes. What I like to do is a clearing at the beginning. So let's take a big inhale through the nose and a big sigh out. Let's do that 2 more times. Fill up the lungs, make as much noise as you want. And then let everything relax. And for a few seconds, try to identify any part of the body that you're still holding on to. Maybe there's areas of tension around your face, your neck, maybe your legs or your back. Just try to identify that part of the body and letting it go. Now you're probably wondering, what is meditation? Well, when we close our eyes and we focus on the inside, we focus on our breath, what happens is that our thoughts are always taking us somewhere extremely random, but maybe we feel uncomfortable, maybe we think about something completely different. That's fine, that is meditating. What's important is that when you identify that you're thinking about something else, just come back to breathing. Intentionally through your nose. And the next thing that's going to happen is that your thoughts are going to go wild again and again and again. And meditation is an endless cycle of you thinking about the most random thoughts and you coming back to your breath. Just enjoying the stillness. And maybe for the first time in your life, or for the first time today, you have nothing to do. Just have to stand still and breathe. And and then you can slowly start to bring movement into your toes, fingers. Maybe open your eyes or keep a low gaze in front of you, and there you go. You've meditated for a few minutes. Try to keep these principles. I try to repeat them all the time in my classes, but I think the main thing is to not judge your thoughts. Just like clouds, you watch them and you let them pass by, and that is exactly the thing. Same thing as your thoughts. No judgment, nothing to see. Just let them pass by. Now let's start to go into the second part of this intro, which is looking at some of the basic poses. The first one we're going to go through is child's pose. Child's pose is a great pose to rest, but to start a class too. The reason for that is that we bring our knees as wide as the mat. The level of width is going to be depending on how comfortable you are, how you like it too. So knees as wide as the mat is a good intro, toes touching each other, and then we're going to sink the hips and the glutes closer to the heels and reach the upper body forwards. Now that is one variation, we'll talk about the next few ones afterwards. And then it's all about bringing that chest closer to the mat, keeping the shoulders open and reaching to the front, and then letting the forehead and the neck go, maybe resting on the mat. And like many other yoga poses, it's all about the breathing. We really want to extend our hands as far as we can, opening that spine, extending that spine, creating space. And a few other variations would be maybe with your hands closer, so you don't extend as much. Another variation would be with hands to your back, slightly more restorative. Or another one, if you want to make it more active, would be on your fingertips, and then you really have a big shoulder opening, spine freeing pose. That would be our child's pose. And then if we put our hands under our shoulders and just gently lift up, bring the knees closer to each other, and we're going to go straight into a downward facing dog. For that, fit our hip distance apart. We tuck our toes in, and with our hands and our feet, we're going to send the hips as high as we can, aiming for a V shape, a mountain shape. So you see here my hips as high as I can. We start with the feet hip distance apart, and then bending the knees if you need to. The need is going to depend whether you have your back flat or not. We always want to keep our back flat in a downward dog. So if I want to keep my back flat right now, I need to bend my knees. Maybe slowly I straighten them, and then that'll be fine. But to start with, I'm going to bend the knees. Quads are strong, hips are as high as I can, and then we create space in the spine again, really sending those hips high, pushing the ground away with the hands, letting the neck and head go, looking left, looking right, and then if you want, bending one leg, straightening the other, walking your dog, and slowly we're going to be able to straighten the legs maybe, and still send the hips high. Bring the chest closer to the knees, and then still opening those shoulders. I like to keep just a slight bend. It's a little bit more comfortable for me. But what's really important is pushing the ground away with the hands, sending the hips as high as we can. And here you have your down dog. Really trying to engage those elbows, those shoulders. And here you are is a down dog. Let's transition straight into that high plank to set up for a Chaturanga Dandasana. So high plank, one of my favorite poses. If you've done my classes, you know I like to stay here quite a bit. So we might as well do it the right way. Hands under the shoulders, core is strong. I like to slightly tuck in that pelvis, that tailbone, in order to protect the spine. And then we're on tiptoes. The transition to the low plank is going to be coming on your tiptoes, hinging forwards, and then sending the elbows to the back. And when these elbows are 90 degrees and you see my shoulders are not under the elbows, then we transition with the toes first and sending our upper body high up in the air. You see my quads are engaged, my glutes are on fire right now, and I'm opening the chest, opening the shoulder, slightly back bending, trying to reach as high as possible and as forward as possible. And then slowly make your way back into down dog. So if we come back just one more time, downward dog, sending the hips high, coming forward into that high plank, hands under the shoulders, core engaged, and then from here, on your tiptoes, hinging forward, and we're bending the elbows, sending them to the back, and then coming back up, inhaling into that up dog. You could also do it straight into cobra. Cobra would be a gentle down dog. Your legs are still engaged and strong, hands under the shoulders, and you use your back muscles as much as your hands to go forwards and upwards into that up dog. Great stretch for the core, for example. Then hands under the shoulders, slowly make your way up into downward dog. And right now you might ask yourself, but I cannot go from high plank to low plank. Perfectly fine. Let's use the knees. Exactly the same thing, except this time our knees are on the mat, core is still strong, hands still under the shoulders, and from here, sending the elbows to the back, and then coming up into that cobra. So the knees is always a good option. Good to start with this, maybe at the beginning of the class, instead of going straight into high plank, maybe to a high plank on the knees. And that is going to sum up our first intro to my classes. So we've seen the meditating, we've seen the basic poses, child's pose, and then that transition from down dog, up dog, Chaturanga, Dandasana, high plank to low plank. Gonna do some more of this. Catch you later. See you. Bye bye.